She is weeping because she has always stood for what New York stands for. We stand for the fact that we want all to come here to prosper. We want them to be good citizens. And all of the folks we are talking about today, we are talking about today what was said in Washington, D.C. All of these folks have fulfilled their obligations to this country. They have been good citizens. They have been good students. To the tens of thousands of students in New York City public schools, you have my word. We are there with you. You will be protected. To the teachers who came to this country, went to school and became teachers, who have chosen to make their lives about dedicating it to helping children. You have my word. We are there with you because we are New York. And in New York, and especially in New York City, do we protect all? Yes. Do we protect all who have come here? Yes. Do we protect all who have come here and said, it is my dream to live and prosper in this country and to be part of this, the wonderful United States of America? We will protect them all. So I ask you, who are we? New York City. And do we protect all? Yes. Who are we? New York City. And who do we protect? All. And as we move forward, this is going to be a great battle. And I say this to everyone. That lady in the harbor will not be weeping when this battle is over. She's going to be smiling. And she's going to be surrounded by so many who said, we understand what our country was actually founded upon. We understand why New York, especially our beloved city, has always been able to prosper. It is because we have held those ideals at all times, that everyone, we take them all because they do make us all better. So I ask you again, who are we? New York City. Who do we protect? All. And will we stand with all forever? Yes. And that is why we are here. Washington, D.C., open your ears. New York City is yelling to you. Who do we protect? All. You're damn right we do. That's what they told me. Okay. Timing. Come on. You want a chant? All right. We're going to beat back the racist attack. We're going to beat back the racist attack. We're going to beat back the racist attack. Raise your hands. Back the racist attack. We're going to beat 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 back the racist attack. It was me.
Oh, you did that. All right.
I push it in.
There you go. There you go.
Good afternoon. My name is Raul. I'm a former deputy press secretary for Mayor de Blasio. I now manage his external affairs for his Office of Minority and Women-Owned Business Enterprises. So it's funny, I actually just walked out of a briefing with the mayor, and I was reminded of the first time I got the chance to brief the mayor. A group of us shuffled into his office, and I sat in the middle of a long couch, and the mayor walked in and sat right in front of me, flipped his tie over his shoulder, and began eating lunch. And I remember thinking to myself, what the heck am I doing here? Because that's what being undocumented does. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you feel like you don't belong. I didn't know I was undocumented until my early teens. And it was because I was in the midst of applying for a license, a driver's license. And I realized I didn't have the documentation to actually go through with that. It was also then that I realized that life was going to be a little more difficult for me. And this sense of shame and a feeling of being a financial burden on my family and friends who used to drive me everywhere began to set in. And it only got worse when I started applying for college, and I had to face astronomical tuition, ineligibility for financial aid, and slim selections for scholarships. My family began tearing itself apart. My parents often fought and prayed for a way to pay for my higher education. And they did this while working laborious jobs. My mother worked, and still does, cleaning houses, while my father worked at catering halls and at limousine services, picking up whatever work he can get to actually get us through, the American life. It was thanks to a foundation that I later received a grant that got me through 4 years of college, and I know others aren't that lucky. And it's unfortunate. And it was in my sophomore year of college when President Barack Obama actually signed his executive action DACA. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like an American again. I was truly independent for the first time, no longer a financial burden, the feeling of shame finally lifting. I was able to participate in internships, work jobs that paid a decent wage, eventually working my way up here to City Hall, where I have the chance to serve the city I love. My story, unfortunately, is not unique in any way. It is shared by other public servants, by first responders, by teachers, by the very people who are volunteering in Houston as we speak. Nearly 800,000 DACA recipients escaped the shadows to better their lives, many of whom served their country proudly. So the President's actions today are not just an affront to me and my parents, but every parent who crossed scorching deserts or landed on a tarmac with signs pointing to an elusive American dream. The parents who worked themselves to the bone to successfully create a semblance of the American life, who instilled in their children American values. Today we have a new deadline, March 25th, and many of us are planning our next steps out of fear. We're asking ourselves, what will I do if I lose my job? How am I going to pay my bills? That burdensome feeling sinking in again. I feel like my 16-year-old self again, learning for the first time that I was undocumented, unable to apply for a license, feverishly Googling loopholes to become naturalized, and Googling the risk of deportation. As DACA recipients, we will feel the urge to return to the shadows, but I urge you not to. Step into that warm light that we have come to appreciate so fondly and project your voices. Remind Congress and the world that you are a patriot, that no law, no action by any individual, no policy will ever diminish our love for these United States, or that these actions will never reverse the irrefutable fact that we are American through and through. And before I turn it over to our mayor, Bill de Blasio, and if anything I've said here today reaches the ear of our president, I want it to be this. Yes, we are your tired, we are your poor, we are your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. But we're also your future. Thank you.
Everybody, you just heard a powerful story from a young man who is literally experiencing everything we just heard from Washington, D.C. today. Right now, for all of us, this is not some abstract policy. This is affecting one of our colleagues, Raul, right here. And this is a good young man. Over the last few years, I've seen serve this city with tremendous devotion. He is smart. He is committed to public service. Any Americans should be proud to have someone like this serving all of us. And imagine the pain. Imagine the pain for Raul and for so many hundreds of thousands more who just this morning now have their lives in limbo, who don't know what tomorrow brings, literally. We are here to stand by each and every one of them. 30,000 New Yorkers. This morning we're put in the crosshairs. They are our neighbors, they are our friends, they are our colleagues, they are our family members. We stand with all 30,000 dreamers here in New York City and all 800,000 around this country. And Raul, you are a loyal employee of the City of New York, so I have an instruction for you and all the other dreamers who work for the City of New York. We want you at your work tomorrow. We want you at your desk. We want you at your station serving us. We want to thank you for the work you do. Look, this is a day of heartbreak for so many. It is a terrifying moment for so many people who wonder if they'll be allowed to stay in the only country they've known. The actions today by President Trump undermine a bond that has developed in this country between hundreds of thousands of people and all the rest of us, these good young men and women who we've all gotten to know. Even the president at times talked about his understanding, the compassion people feel for the dreamers, but his actions, unfortunately, have gone in the opposite direction. Imagine if you'd done things the right way and then just saw your rights taken away with the stroke of a pen. We are going to stand up to this. And New Yorkers do not take kindly to anything that affronts our fellow New Yorkers. We don't take kindly to people being separated out because of who they are. So I have a message for President Trump. Don't mess with your fellow New Yorkers. These are our neighbors. They're just as much New Yorkers as anybody else. They contribute just as much as anybody else. They're human beings, and they need to be treated with dignity and respect. The American people really do understand this. They yearn for a positive solution here, so now it's time for all of us to get to work. We will, of course, with cities and states around the country, prepare to use every legal avenue to defend the rights of our dreamers. We will also get to work immediately. I intend to work with mayors all over the country, by the way, Democrats and Republicans alike, who believe that Congress must act and must act quickly. The DREAM Act now is more pertinent than ever. It's as simple as that. It's not something to just talk about anymore. Now we need it. And it's time for people all over this country to make their views known. Say it's not acceptable for Congress to act like they can look away. They've got to pass the DREAM Act, and they've got to pass it now for the good of all these good young people. You're going to hear from a number of prominent New Yorkers, and we're all here in common cause. I just want to say a few things to the Dreamers directly on behalf of New York City. Our city stands with you, and in every way that we work with you, we will not ask your documentation status. We will continue our policies. All Dreamers will have full access to our schools, our hospitals, to all city services, to ID NYC, and most crucially, a reminder to all Dreamers, the NYPD is here to protect you and will never be a deportation force. To all Dreamers who need legal advice, call 311, and we stand ready to provide you legal assistance in your hour of need. To all New Yorkers who want to help at this point, and a special call to lawyers and paralegals whose help will be needed, please sign up on the city website, nyc.gov/MOIA, Mayor's Office Immigrant Affairs Volunteer, nyc.gov/MOIA Volunteer. We need you. My friends, we live in the ultimate city of immigrants. It's who we are. We are proud of it. People of all nations, all faiths, all backgrounds. What we've achieved together. We are safe, we are prosperous, we are unified. We have achieved what we have achieved not despite immigrants, but because of immigrants. All together, all of us. A few words in Spanish before you hear from my colleagues. El presidente Trump ha cumplido su cruel promesa de ponerle fin a DACA y amenaza con deportar a 800,000 jóvenes que respetan las leyes. Entre ellos hay 30,000 jóvenes de nuestra ciudad. Vamos a hacer todo lo posible para proteger a todos los neoyorquinos y sus familias. Si necesitan apoyo o ayuda legal, llamen a 311. With that, to speak about the incredible burden that this is putting on the hearts and minds and souls of our Dreamers, our First Lady, Chirlane McCray.
Thank you, Bill. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the following leadership from institutions of higher learning: Gail Mello, President, LaGuardia Community College; and it looks like that's it. Okay. I would like to thank all the school leadership, students and Dreamers from colleges and universities across our city for standing with us today. And I'd like to acknowledge the following advocates: Jose Calderon, President, Hispanic Federation; James Hong, co-director of the Minkwon Center for Community Action; Joanne Yu, President of the Asian American Federation; and again, all advocates, community organizations, etc., who are here with us today. This is why you don't do acknowledgments, because you always leave out somebody, right? All right, so tonight I have the honor, or I will have the honor, of hosting a group of NYC Dreamers at Gracie Mansion for dinner. And I will say to them what I say to you now. In New York City, we do not turn our backs on our neighbors. They are our friends, our families, and our fellow New Yorkers need us to fight for them. And that's exactly what we're going to do. They also need our care and support now more than ever. Just imagine what it's like to live in constant fear for yourself or for your loved ones. The wondering, the waiting, the worrying, all of that takes an emotional toll and makes daily life and decisions much more difficult. DACA helped create some peace of mind for a community already under pressure, facing threats from many sides. And now that peace of mind has been torn away. So even as we come together to wholeheartedly oppose this short-sighted and cruel action by the Trump administration, even as we fight like hell for a better path forward, we cannot ignore the trauma and stress our neighbors are living with. We want everyone to know that in New York City, help is always available. Anyone experiencing anxiety, depression, or any kind of emotional distress can call 1-888-NYC-WELL. That's our free mental health helpline, and it's available at any time of the day or night. Anyone can also text WELL, that's W-E-L-L, to 65173, or visit nyc.gov/ThriveNYC to chat with a trained counselor. NYC Well is confidential and anonymous. You do not have to provide your name or any identifying information unless you choose to. And you can speak in any language. We have counselors on hand who speak Spanish, Mandarin, and Cantonese. And translation services are available in more than 200 languages. Can everyone here please say that number with me? 1-888-NYC-WELL. One more time. 1-888-NYC-WELL. Now, can you please spread the word about this number? Do I hear a yes? Yes. All right. It's so important that people know that there is hope and help always available to them. And to our city's dreamers and to all of the immigrants who have chosen to make their home here, I want you to know you are not alone. New York City has your back. Thank you.
Before I bring up the Speaker of the City Council, although Shirlene's right, when we do the acknowledgments, we always end up accidentally leaving someone out. Let me call out some of the great leaders of labor who are here with us. The President of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten. The President of the UFT, Michael Mulgrew. President of the RWDSU, Stuart Applebaum. President of 32BJ SEIU, Hector Figueroa. President of Teamsters Joint Council 16, George Miranda. The Executive Director of the Doctors Council SEIU, Kevin Collins. And the President of PSC CUNY, Barbara Bowen. We thank you. The Speaker of the City Council has led the way on so many initiatives to support immigrant New Yorkers. It's an honor to have her with us. Speaker Melissa Mark Viverito.
I want to thank all of the council members that are here. I see Carlos Menchaca, Margaret Chin, Idanis Rodriguez, Danny Drum, and Donovan Richards, if I missed anybody. Oh, David Greenfield. Brad Lander and Jomani Williams. It's important to know that this city council is here present, Rafael Espinal, and we're fighting, and Vanessa Gibson behind me. We're fighting each and every day. You know, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for convening this. And for me, it's very hard to maintain my composure when we see the level of cruelty and inhumanity that consistently is being inflicted by this administration, a cruelty and an inhumanity that is destroying the very fabric of this democracy that we all hold dear. And it's incredible to see and to take a look at who is here. We have faith leaders, we have immigration advocates, we have legal service providers, we have elected officials, we have New Yorkers, and we have the mayor of Madrid in demonstrating international solidarity in her trip here to New York, Mayor of Madrid, Manuela Carmena, who is with us. Yorkers know that immigrants make our city and our country stronger. New Yorkers know that no human is illegal. And New Yorkers who are united in our unwavering, steadfast support of our immigrant family, friends, and neighbors are definitely appalled at today. Each day, we're bracing ourselves for another assault on any group that does not look like what Trump and his confederacy of cowards define as American. I'm here to say resoundingly, unwaveringly to immigrant New Yorkers, to nuestra familia, that we stand by you and for you. While this president is abandoning you, we will not. Repealing DACA is the latest ploy from a cruel, uncaring White House and president that is hell-bent on undermining our nation and the American dream. DACA has been an essential lifeline for close to 1 million young people, many of whom have only ever known the United States as home. Dreamers are Americans. They are Americans in all ways, but on paper. And this is through no fault of their own. The nation has failed them, their families, and their communities by refusing to deliver, in the course of more than 12 years, humane and reasoned immigration policy. Dreamers are your children's teachers, your neighbors, engineers, designers, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, and a crucial part of the American fabric. With 42,000 Dreamers in New York, chances are you have interacted with them at work, church, or school. These are real people. I refuse to accept that the new American normal is going from low to lower. We will not allow short-sighted and cruel decisions such as the repeal of DACA to make havoc and upend American lives. Repealing DACA doesn't jeopardize the lives of the very people who risked everything to be here and who have made countless contributions to our country. Repealing DACA also puts our very economy at risk. New York State alone would suffer over a $2 billion loss in GDP. And removing the over 800,000 people who have remained here through DACA will cost this country over $433 billion over the next decade. This is a staggering amount. The Attorney General Sessions claims that the DOJ could not defend DACA because it would not hold up in court. Yet the full force of the DOJ and the administration was brought to bear to try to defend what was in essence a ban on Muslims entering the country, another act in a blatant pattern of exclusion and marginalization. What we heard today was a distortion of DACA and its impact on our country. Instead of rewarding these hardworking Americans, the President and the Attorney General are pitting communities against each other with blatant lies. This is not about jobs. This is about racism and xenophobia. DACA recipients are not taking away jobs, and they certainly didn't cause a surge of Central American refugees along the border. This repeal goes against who we are as a city and as a nation. So today, the city of New York is sending a loud and clear message to Dreamers. We see you, we value you, you matter, and we are going to fight for you. We're not going to stand for this affront to our values, and we're not going to sit idly by as the livelihoods of children and families are ripped apart. So as a matter of justice, I call on everyone to courageously stand up for Dreamers, to stand up for our values of inclusion, stand up for our great limitless capacity to create solutions that lift all. We are for love, not fear. We are about unity, not division. We are about truth, not lies. The responsibility now falls on Congress to demonstrate the courage and morality that this administration lacks. So I stand here today with our allies, clergy, elected officials, and dreamers, and with our mayor, who is sending a very strong message by convening all of us to pass a bipartisan DREAM Act immediately, and for New York State to not wait any longer and pass the DREAM Act. And while we wait for Congress to act, and we're going to force them to act, this city council and this city will continue to lead the way on forward-thinking immigration policy. We will fight this repeal at every step of the way, starting by passing legislation later this week to expand the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, the role of the Office of Immigrant Affairs. And it's imperative that we invest more resources to help support our immigrant communities. This legislation is going to help us address the challenges faced by immigrants in the 21st century. Because even if the Trump administration won't stand for what is right, we will. Because here in New York, we know that justice can only truly be attained by standing up and uplifting one another. And lastly, I'll say, we have a phrase in Spanish, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me the company you keep, and I will tell you who you are. We have cowards, fearmongers, dividers, and apologists rejecting all of these young people and at the same time trying to use them as political chips. We know that the months ahead are not going to be easy, but we're going to fight, and we're going to make sure that all immigrant New Yorkers have the resources they need to fight back. So let's remain vigilant and continue to spread the word about trusted providers who will support, not exploit, the very people who are most at risk during these times. So we are here to support the Dreamers. I know the mayor has given resources, and so has the First Lady, and we'll say that you can also log on to our website, council.nyc.gov, for legal, mental health providers ready to help and to get any resources you may need. Can I just say one last thing, Mr. Mayor? Someone that I miss very dearly, and I think many of us miss very dearly, put a statement out earlier, President Obama. And what he said at the end of his statement was, what makes us American is not a question of what we look like or where our names come from or the way we pray. What makes us American is our fidelity to a set of ideals, that all of us are created equal, that all of us deserve the chance to make of our lives what we will, that all of us share an obligation to stand up, speak out, and secure our most cherished values for the next generation. That's how America has traveled this far. That's how, if we keep at it, we will ultimately reach that more perfect union. And I'm ready to keep at it, and I'm sure everybody here is as well. Le he tomado mucho tiempo al alcalde, pero en bien breve en español, estamos aquí para decir que vamos a luchar, estamos unidos, defendiendo y protegiendo a los soñadores que están contribuyendo a esta ciudad y a esta nación. No están solos, estamos con ustedes, lucharemos, y esta ciudad y este Consejo Municipal está aquí presente para decir pa'lante, estamos con ustedes. Gracias.
I want you to hear from some faith leaders, because if ever there's a time where we needed our clergy, this was it. If ever there's a time that young people needed to be reassured and supported, this is it. And before I call up two speakers, I want to thank all of the clergy who are here, all of the members of my Clergy Advisory Council who represent all the faiths of this city. Thank you for the great work you do, and know that people will be turning to you with such concern in the coming days, and we know you will be there to help them. A special thank you to Dr. Ray Rivera, the chairman of the National Latino Evangelical Coalition, for his great work. A special thanks to Executive Vice President of the New York Board of Rabbis, Rabbi Joseph Potasnik, for all you do. We will see, as per usual, in a moment of crisis, faith leaders across all backgrounds come together in this city in common cause. It's one of the things that makes us great. And a leader who has been particularly passionate in his defense of immigrants and his understanding that we all must be there for them. It's my honor to introduce Cardinal Timothy Dolan.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I appreciate very much the invitation to stand with you, as well as your leadership in this extraordinarily crucial and noble issue, as I'm confident my distinguished colleagues in the clergy do as well. Usually when I'm with you, Mayor de Blasio, it's for an upbeat occasion. It might be the opening day of UPK or the opening of a homeless shelter, but boy, oh boy, not today. Not today. Those we cherish as dreamers are now experiencing an unnecessary and unjust nightmare due to the regrettable announcement today. Now, I can't speak as a political leader. There are distinguished political leaders here who can do that eloquently. But I can speak as a pastor in unity with my colleagues in the clergy here with me this evening. As a pastor, I can tell you these dreamers are not criminals, aliens, problems, or intruders. They are us. They are our people. I see them in our parishes, our churches, our synagogues, our mosques, our schools, the blocks of this city that we love. I love them as neighbors, as fellow believers, as reliable workers, as a leaven to this community of New York. To demonize them as threats or terrorists contradicts, you know what? The Bible, America, New York, and human decency. So fellow community leaders this evening, count on us as pastors, as your religious leaders, to welcome them, to keep doing that, and to defend them. Count on us to advocate on their behalf before Congress and the administration. Our immigrants, our dreamers, are not partisan hockey pucks, but children of God, and I say this on the day we Catholics celebrate as the feast of St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Our dreamers are children of God, made in his image and likeness, deserving of dignity and respect, not threats and vilification. We are with them. We're in this together. Thank you.
Beautiful done. Beautiful done. Cardinal, thank you for your powerful words. Your presence means so much to all of us. And I said, the faith community is going to take the lead in this moment, and we're going to need to reach people all over this country to make the change we have to make through legislation to Congress. And I know one of the leading voices will be the head of the National Action Network, a voice of conscience here in this city as well, Reverend Al Sharpton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for convening us, and thanks to our city leaders for being here. I thought about when I was 13 years old, entering Tilden High School as a freshman, 1968, when Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy had been killed. We couldn't go to school in September because of the teacher strike, something that Sandra Feldman and Randy Weingarten and Michael Mulgrew and others have healed since that time. When we were allowed to go, one of the first things that we were able to do is that the class I had in social studies brought us to the Statue of Liberty. Many of us had never seen it. And many of us from different backgrounds stood there and read those words, "Bring me your huddled masses that yearn to be free." Today, they attempted to yank that sign down. We are standing together to say you will not yank that sign or the meaning of that sign down in the harbor of New York. It did not seem strange to me, unfortunately, that President Trump would announce this and say that he was going to revoke what President Obama had done. Because it was not long ago that I was in the Oval Office with other civil rights leaders with President Obama when he explained what he was doing. And I joked and reminded him that it's ironic that there will be those that will oppose those that are brought here when they're young children and don't have documentation. And you have a man running for president who is now president who spent years trying to prove you didn't have documentation. You have a president that tried to discredit his predecessor's documents. Documents is not what he's preoccupied. Bias and division is what he's preoccupied with. Don't forget that just a few days ago, while a level 4 hurricane was approaching Texas, this president chose that as a time to pardon a man who was convicted of racial profiling in the state of Arizona. And when he was questioned, he said, I knew the ratings would be high because of the hurricane. Well, you're going to see the ratings be high when people of all races, all backgrounds, and all religions make sure the DREAM Act passes and what you did today fails. I heard Attorney General Sessions say that we must respect the law. Well, you must remember, Attorney General Sessions, everything done in segregation was legal. Denying my people the right to vote was legal. Making us sleep in cars because we couldn't rent a motel room was legal. Not being able to drink out of white water fountains was legal. Martin Luther King taught us that what is lawful is not always right. And what these laws represent and what these laws represent is immoral, is unjust, and unfair. The Cardinal and I was talking, and he said publicly, it is against the Bible. Well, it is. And I say this in closing. It's against the Bible because I'm a Baptist preacher. Grew up under Herb Daughtry, Bill Jones. And I was taught that when a ruler had commissioned some political oppression, that an angel told a man to take his wife and his baby and flee to Egypt to save his life. And that young baby was taken against any knowledge of his own and had to hide in Egypt. I stand against you, President Trump, because I worship a refugee named Jesus. Taken as an infant to a better land for safety. And we have an obligation, we that believe in him, to stand up for every child that was brought here for a better life. I can't pray to him and then kick those that are like him out of this country. So as I close, unlike the mayor and unlike the first lady and unlike the speaker, I cannot end in Spanish. So I'll say I will say it in a language you've heard from me before, Mr. President, El Presidente. No justice, no peace.
I made clear that the City of New York will act with respect and inclusion towards the dreamers who are here. 30,000 young people are here. I know a lot of them right now are wondering what their relationship is going to be with the NYPD in the months ahead because of this horrible decree coming from Washington. So I've told them, but I want them to hear directly from one of the leaders of the NYPD, the respect that they will be shown in this city that is theirs also. Our Chief of Patrol, Chief Terry Monahan.
Good evening. Regarding all the actions taken today, I just want everyone to rest assured absolutely nothing has changed in the way the NYPD operates. We abide by city law. We never, ever ask someone's immigration status. We had a press conference earlier today talking about crime, how safe this city has become. This city has become safe because we work together with our communities, and that's everyone in the community. It's important that that message gets out to everyone to continue to work. If we're going to move this city forward, we need to reach out to every person in every community. No one should ever fear coming to speak to the police. It's how we as a city get safer. We've come this far. I would hope that nothing would change according to this act and people will still feel comfortable to come to the police department and talk with us. Because, again, we will never ask for anyone's immigration status.
Thank you so much, Chief. And now I want you to hear how our school system, which is the lifeblood of the lives of our dreamers, of so many families who seek a better life, how our school system will work with our dreamers and their parents. It's my honor to bring forward our Chancellor, Carmen Farina.
I believe that true leadership brings out the best in all of us. And leaders who don't look for the best in people are bound to lose something very special in their leadership. So my message today is very clear. Every student, parent, educator is welcome and safe in our schools. We will do everything to defend you and keep you safe. But most important, we honor what you bring into our schools. We celebrate different cultures and backgrounds, and we learn for each other. That is what makes New York City very, very special, and that's also what's going to get us through this to a much and better world. En español, quiero asegurar a todos los padres, estudiantes y maestros en la ciudad de Nueva York que estamos aquí para protegeros. Estamos aquí para enseñar al mundo que estamos juntos en esto que estamos haciendo ahora y que una persona que está a cargo de un departamento o de una ciudad tiene que proteger a la persona que más débil está. Y para eso están aquí las escuelas. Y estamos aquí también para hacer especial las culturas que traéis y las maneras de pensar que son diferentes y también al mismo tiempo iguales. Estamos aquí para todos vosotros. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to hear from a few more leaders, but before I do, some important acknowledgments of some of the key people who have come to join us in common cause. The president of the state NAACP, Hazel Dukes, thank you. President of the CSA, Mark Cannizzaro, thank you. Secretary-Treasurer of 1199 SEIU, Maria Castaneda, thank you. Leaders of higher education in the city, Antonio Perez, the president of BMCC, Mitchell Wallerstein, the president of Baruch College, David Gomez, the president of Ostos Community College, thank you. Leaders of the business community, we thank you. So many members of the business community have spoke out in the last few days, urging the president not to take that action, and now they will join us in the effort to pass legislation. I want to thank Vijay Dandapani, the president and CEO of the Hotel Association of New York City, and Julie Samuels, the Executive Director of Tech NYC, among all the business leaders here. And a special thank you to one of the other elected officials who has joined us, Borough President Gail Brewer of Manhattan. We thank you. Now, my honor to bring up our public advocate, Letitia James.
This is a fight for the soul of our country, for the soul of America. And this reminds me of why I went to law school, because the law is the firmest pillar of government. And I look forward to standing with the Attorney General and elected officials and men and women of faith to defend the dreamers and their right to dream. And so to all of the attorneys who are out there, with the sound of my voice, all of the attorneys who seek to promote the public interest, now is the time that we need you. We need you now. And so I urge all of you to contact the Office of the Public Advocate, the Mayor's Office, the City Council. We need all attorneys to step up and to assist us, because today we are all dreamers, and our dream is the American dream, and it will not die. Our dreamers grew up in America. In fact, many have gone to school. They have American driver's license. They own homes, and they own businesses, and they have contributed to our economy. And as I was watching CNN, I want to thank Senator Graham and Senator Durbin, because they now realize that we need leadership in this country and that time is of the essence. I'm glad that they recognize that the stories of DACA recipients are compelling and heart-wrenching and real, and that action needs to be taken now in the next 6 months. And that we all recognize and understand that we are at this point because Congress could not agree upon comprehensive immigration reform, and that President Obama, who I miss dearly, no, in fact, I even miss Herbert Walker Bush, that President Obama acted because he wanted to fill the void. And so it's time for Republicans in Congress to step up. It's time for Congress to bring the DREAM Act to the floor, not in 1 month, not in 1 week, but now. And we should not trade on this bill. We should not trade it for promises or for and hold it hostage for border measures. We should not do that. That is unthinkable and unconstitutional and unreasonable. Young people, young dreamers have served in our military. They were first on our scenes in our disasters, like we saw last week during Hurricane Harvey. They are teachers and doctors and neighbors and friends, and dreamers put trust in our government, and deporting them is really reprehensible. And many of the children protected by DACA came to America to escape violence and to seek opportunities for a better life. And so it's really critically important that we stand with them. And it doesn't come to any surprise that every business that I heard today have come out in criticizing this policy, and they recognize the economic fallout of this decision. And for a president who is so concerned with making America great again, he's doing everything in his power to bring us down morally and economically. We know these people are invaluable. We know these individuals are invaluable. They're invaluable members of our families and our communities, and we will not allow this administration to continue advancing policies that destroy them and destroy the future of our country. And for those who question whether or not it's legal, whether or not it's a question of legality depends upon who is wearing the robe. And I refuse to allow individuals who wear the KKK robe to determine whether or not this is legal. Legality should be determined by those who understand the law and those who recognize that this country, that the principle of this country was founded upon opening up our doors for all individuals. I tell you now, and I tell you always, that immigrants in this country are welcomed in New York, and they're welcomed in this country, and we will not turn our back on them. Lawyers, we need you. Step up and come to the plate and fight for justice.
Thank you, Public Advocate. Now I want to call up our Comptroller, Scott Stringer.
First of all, I want to say that this city leadership, clergy, labor, business, we have never been more unified in this struggle than we are today. And I want to thank Bill de Blasio for bringing us here to send a message to this country. Give him a round of applause for building this coalition. I don't want to make a long speech, but I just want to say something personal. I didn't know how many DACA recipients worked in the controller's office because we don't ask those questions. But I can tell you, after reading a Facebook post or being informed about people in my office, that this is cruel and inhumane. The fact is that the people in our office represent the best of our city. They go to work every day helping other people. They go to work every day giving back to this city. They go every day lifting all of us up. As controller, I could tell you, and I will in the coming days, the huge financial impact immigrants, DACA recipients have in this town. And I just want to conclude quickly by saying, for me, as a relatively new parent, I sometimes marveled in the last couple of years as how different my children would grow up. In their daycare, they get to sit with kids from so many different backgrounds, so many different cultures and language. Today, as my little guy gets ready for kindergarten, I'm so excited that he's going to a public school and becoming part of the diversity of this city. But I have to tell you something. This is not the way it is right now for parents raising children. When you could turn on the TV and see a Nazi swastika, or see the KKK, or see racism coming out of the mouths of the President of the United States, this is not how our children should be growing up. It is a disgrace in America. And I am getting to that point in my life as a parent that I'm going to have to explain to Max and Miles the history and the struggle of their abuelo, because not every book should be judged by its cover. Everyone has diversity in their families. And I'm going to have to tell them this story, but here's the story I'm going to tell them. Their daddy was on the front line as leaders before us, and we won this fight. And when Trump is no longer president, he will be a teaching moment for the children of America. And I can't wait to help write that story. Thank you very much.
I mentioned that the business community has been in the forefront of the effort to stop today's action and will be in the forefront of the effort to ensure that the DREAM Act is passed in the Congress. It's my pleasure to welcome the President and CEO of the Partnership for New York City, Kathy Weil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The business community is very proud to join this broad coalition you brought together in support of the Dreamers. Business leaders and employers in New York City and all over the country are reaching out to members of Congress to demand the enactment of the DREAM Act of 2017. This is critical not only for the humanitarian reasons we've discussed, but for the economic future of our country. America desperately needs to reaffirm that we are welcoming to global talent and that we are committed to support the opportunity for all to enjoy life and the pursuit of happiness in this country, and liberty. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
All three.
Thank you. All three. Too many speeches.
Thank you, Kathy. I want to say as we conclude that this pronouncement is only hours old. We are still analyzing it and its full impact. We know the direction we will take as a city. There's some answers we have, there's some answers we do not have at this point, but I'd like to welcome some questions from the media. If you have questions right now, we'll do our best to answer them now. Yes?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm wondering what kind of message do you think the Trump administration is sending today to the entire nation when there's no will to give another chance to dreamers? However, we just saw recently a pardon for sharing.
Look, I think it's a horrible message, and it's a message that divides us and doesn't need to. Here's the painful reality. If the president thought there was a problem of law, he could have worked all these months to pass a DREAM Act and make that problem of law moot. And he would have had all the support in the world from the business community and from leaders on both sides of the aisle. As you heard earlier, Senator Graham has been one of the strongest voices in favor of the DREAM Act. Why make this pronouncement, leaving 800,000 people in doubt and confusion when it could have already been addressed? So our mission is to recognize that was a reckless act and to immediately create the coalition to resolve this issue once and for all. And in this crisis, I think you're going to see a striking level of bipartisanship. I can certainly say that working with mayors all over the country, again, Democrats and Republicans both, they know we cannot leave these young people in limbo. So I think the president's action was wrong in every way, but I think it will create the energy for everyone else to act. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, you mentioned the need to pass the DREAM Act at the state level. Have you been in communication with the governor about that at all? And do you think that would go far enough to protect not just dreamers, but the younger generation?
Yeah, we need the DREAM Act at the state level, and I look forward to working with everybody and anyone. I'll speak to all of the leaders in Albany about it, but it will not achieve the same things as federal legislation. So it is the right thing to do in this moment of crisis to pass the New York State DREAM Act as a matter of progress. But the solution is the federal DREAM Act. Yes?
For the DACA recipients who are employed by the city, should they, are presumably going to lose their work authorization because of this? Will the city continue to employ them?
Again, as I said earlier, and I'll preface by saying we are only hours into this and we're fully assessing the situation. But as I said earlier, we want all of our employees who are DACA recipients to show up for work as usual. We intend to treat them normally. We need their efforts. We need their talents. There is time for this issue to be resolved before the 6-month period runs out. I think that's the central point. As we are considering our legal options with so many other cities and states around the country, that's one immediate path that may change the trajectory. But 6 months is plenty of time also for congressional action. So our interpretation is we will continue as we are today in the meantime. Yes?
School starts this week?
Yes, Thursday.
Yeah, so what are schools doing, if anything? A lot of DACA recipients could also be high school students or
Yep.
parents.
We're going to be spreading information through the schools, as we have been already for so many immigrant parents and children who are undocumented. We're going to do the same. We're going to double down and provide more information to everyone who's a DACA recipient to clarify their rights, to let them know legal help is available from the City of New York, to let them know that this is not resolved, that we will work to make sure the Congress speaks. So we'll give them a message of reassurance and of help. Yes?
Besides potential litigation, is there anything else you can clarify for us in terms of what the city plans to do to combat this?
Again, the two big fronts are in the courts and in the Congress. So we believe that there's real opportunity to address this in the court system. We're formulating that strategy now, and we'll be working with other cities and states. In the Congress, I think this has created an intense moment of crisis. And again, the fact that major Republican voices are coming forward in favor of action in the Congress and the business community is speaking so loudly gives me the hope that something can be done. But we're going to try and build a grassroots coalition of cities all over the country to help get it done. We'll take one or two more if there are. Okay, thanks everyone.